What's up, Canes fans? Peter Ariz here with another edition of the CanesInSight podcast, bringing you the Clemson preview. Canes Tigers this Saturday evening at Hard Rock Stadium. I'm bringing a very special guest on today's show, Eric Mac Lain, ACC Network college football analyst for ESPN, also a former Tiger, played there, winningest player in program history. So this is a guy who knows the ins and outs of the Clemson program and is very, very well versed, not only on the Canes, but the ACC landscape and the college football landscape in general. So excited for you to hear this interview that I have with him. If you have not checked it out already, did a podcast earlier this week with Nick Echeverria, aka West End Zone, who did a great film breakdown, took a few clips from the UNC game on some of the breakdowns defensively that went on against the Tar Heels. I know it's not pretty to talk about, but for the Canes fans that want to be informed on what's going on, Nick's breakdown was awesome, and expect more content like that moving forward. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, sign up for CanesInsight.com, completely free. Check out the forums. We got the latest recruiting news as always. If you want to talk about what's going on, I know it's not the funnest time to be a Cane the last couple of weeks here with these losses, but tons of opportunities for this team moving forward. If you can't make it out to Hard Rock this Saturday, of course, Titanic Restaurant and Brewery is the official spot for CanesInsight watch parties this season. And it was a great turnout last week. Again, didn't get the result we wanted, but appreciate everyone who showed up to Titanic. Hope to see a lot of you guys out there. I know a lot of you will be in the stadium, but for the away games as well, Titanic is the spot to be. Dollar wings, dollar jumbo shrimp, best game day deal in town. Without much further ado, here's Eric Mac Lain talking Clemson Canes. All right, Canes fans, really excited for this next guest right here on the CanesInsight podcast. You may recognize him from ESPN and ACC Network. Eric Mac Lain, college football analyst, former Clemson Tiger.
Whoa. Easy. Don't tell anybody.
Listen. We do this every week, man. We bring on an opposing, usually it's a beat reporter, but sure. You do great work on ACC Network. You're always tagging us in your work, and the Canes fans, I know they love seeing your stuff. And like we just said before this, man, the Canes fans always seem like they're getting disrespected by the national media. But listen, you got Coach Rick to your side, so
that's right.
He has to keep you in check a little bit, I'm sure.
No question. He's my guy, man. And I tell you what, it's funny enough. Miami was one of the very first places that we visited when I got the job. EJ and Manuel and I made a trip down and saw the staff, saw what you guys had going on, and it's a special place. There's no question about it. And really, you hear all these stories about Green Tree and just how magical, mystical, legendary that place is. Dude, when we walked out there, I'm just like, man, there have been some legit wars take place on this practice field. The amount of guys, I mean, I'm looking at all the banners in your background, all those dudes, out there competing their tails off of. And it's just, there's something special about it, man. So I always love when we get to go down there. This weekend we're going, which is amazing. I love to be there. This is our second time this year. And excited to see the Canes up close and personal.
Weather is not bad this time of year either.
That's right.
Here. So we've gotten a little bit of a cold front. 65 degrees. That's our cold front right now.
Get your winter jacket out. Get your winter jacket out.
Hopefully that stays stays for a bit. But
that's right.
Also, you're the winningest player in Clemson history, which I mean that is you're highly qualified to talk about this matchup right here.
That's right. And pretty special. Obviously was a part of some amazing teams and amazing runs. And, we kind of capped it off there with getting to the national championship, losing it, of course, which stinks. I got that silver medal around here somewhere. But just some really cool teams that I was a part of. And, what a blessing to still be able to obviously cover my Tigers, but, obviously college football in general, man. You and I were kind of briefly talking about it before, but it's such a special sport. The world seemingly getting smaller every day, especially with social media and transfer portal guys going to different places. And then you're even getting more connections. But it's amazing.
So let's just get right into Clemson, first of all, because I know the Canes fans, we want to get into what this Tigers team is all about, right? So obviously, tough start to the year against Duke, sloppy performance out of the gate there. Rebound, have a tough matchup against Florida State, and don't get the job done there in overtime. But seems like they've gotten it back on track the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, I think really, you learned a lot about a team and yourself, in losses, and you'd like to learn those lessons in wins. But Clemson has a bit of a turnover problem, and that's been a thing really for like the last 8 games. Not just even this season, but kind of creeping back to the last couple of a season ago as well. And just little attention to detail things that we had really never seen before from the Tigers when I was playing, and especially the last couple of years, that amazing run that they went on, winning a couple of national championships there. So this is a new wrinkle, right? And something that they've really shown and has been able to keep teams in it, has lost them 2 games and maybe made a couple, a little bit uncomfortable. And you mentioned that FSU game. I thought that was the best we'd seen Clemson all year. Still a couple of little decisions and turnovers that ultimately lost that game, but thought they played really well. Play Syracuse the next week. Go to Syracuse and look great again, hitting the deep ball, really pushing the ball downfield, running it when they need to, get a big W there. And then we kind of go backwards a little bit, and you see the Wake Forest game and 17-12 and some, another dropped handoff just sitting there. And just offense wasn't pushing the ball, wasn't very effective at all. I think they averaged like 4.8 yards per play in that game. And that's, archaic. I mean, that's crazy when you look at that and the things that they were doing, literally not even attempting a downfield pass. So I don't know if they were looking forward to Miami. I don't know if they were looking forward to the bye week, whatever it was. But hopefully that's in their past and they come off well rested, in this game. And we see a great matchup, down in Miami.
Interestingly enough, a lot of the things you're saying about Clemson, I think Canes fans would say that's what's happening down here too. Yeah. And Coach Cristobal and a lot of the players use the term self-inflicted wounds this week, right? So I think there are some similarities there. Obviously, Miami has had their 2 losses in different manner, I would say.
Sure.
But if you look at the defensive side of the ball now, that has definitely been a strength of this Clemson team, top 5 total defense in the country. And there's been no issues over there.
No question. And, a little bit of I don't know if a learning curve is the right word, but they look totally different against Duke. Like guys just weren't at full speed. Guys weren't flying around to the ball. Since then have been fantastic. I mean, when you look at what they were able to do, the plays that they've made, young guys stepping up, obviously Peter Woods in the middle, but also TJ Parker, who I saw on a couple of midseason All-American lists for freshmen there. He stepped up and has been a revelation as a pass rusher. The linebackers are getting closer to what I thought they could be. Not quite there yet when you look at Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter, but very special players with the things that they can do and how they impact the run game and the passing game with different windows there. And then you got a secondary that got, I think, to its peak at Florida State, but then kind of instantly ripped away because you lost Nate Wiggins for a couple of games. Hearing that he's going to be back, that'll be vital, especially against TVD, Restrepo, and this badass passing offense that we've seen for this entire season from Miami. So those guys are certainly going to have to play to their best because you're going against an offense that's averaging 500 plus yards per game. I mean, Miami's going to sling it around. It's just, can you be ready and can those guys be in good position?
Now, on the offensive side of the ball, other than the sloppiness that has gone on, right? Cade Klubnik, his first full season as starter at Clemson. How would you assess his progression? Obviously, being a young quarterback in today's age of college football, a lot is expected right away. At a program like Clemson, you're expected to be a Heisman Trophy contender right off the bat, which is unfair to these kids, right? But it seems like he's getting more comfortable as the weeks go on, and the ability for him to run the football as well is something that I know Miami's concerned with this week.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt about it. It is interesting, man, because you kind of have, these feelings, not only as an analyst, but as a former player, as a fan. I think we're allowed to be that from time to time. And you think that he's just not playing great, and then you look at the stats and you're like, he's playing pretty good. It's not that bad. When you look at the turnover margin, when you look at the quarterback rating, his accuracy, he's throwing the ball like 66% accurate. The only thing that I would love to see, for the remainder of the season is continuing to push the ball downfield. I mean, he's averaging 6 yards of completion. That's not great, right? I mean, we want guys to be running for that, not passing it. And so you'd love to see that number get as close to double digits as it could. Part of that is obviously him. Part of that is receivers getting open. The other part is calling those plays and making sure that those shots are built in. But, certainly I think since the Duke game, we've seen great growth from him really since the first 6 quarters of the season. We've seen great growth and really seeing the game clearer and kind of having a faster reaction, which is important. And I think, kind of similar to TVD a year ago where we saw that kind of force fed into a certain thing that he wasn't good at, and quite frankly, I don't think Miami was ready to run that type of play calling and scheme. Then we saw them just say, hey, just rip it, bro. Just be a beast, be who you are, throw that thing downfield. And so it'll be interesting to see, is that what Clemson and is that what Cade Klubnik do for the second half of the season?
Eric, I'm interested because, look, I know it's easy as a former player to get nostalgic about the teams that you were on and the talent you had around you, but I'm curious. Something I've heard from NFL scouts about this Clemson team right now is they don't necessarily have the skill position, elite skill position guys that they maybe had when, in years past, right?
Yeah.
On the outside is what I've heard. Is that an accurate assessment? Would you say that maybe from when you were playing there and now that's one of the bigger differences?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, dude, I was playing with Sammy Watkins. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. One of the baddest boys I've ever seen in my life there. Mike Williams, a young Mike Williams, Nuke Hopkins, Martavis Bryant, animals, really freaky guys. And, the T. Higgins and Amari Rogers, Artavis Scott, there certainly are guys that I think can evolve into that. But it's going to take a little bit of time. Right now, I don't think there's a Sammy Watkins on the roster. I don't think there's a T. Higgins. But maybe there are guys that can turn into that. And, Clemson's next class, I think they have 2, for sure 1, but maybe 2 5-stars that are coming in wide receiver position that I feel like is instantly getting back to what it was. And so whether that was just, misses, on guys in recruiting, if it was just lack of development, whatever it is, certainly Clemson does not have those guys right now. And I think anybody would tell you that it's fairly easy to see that.
Wanted to get into Miami a little bit here because, differently than most of these guests that we have on for the preview episodes, you're covering the ACC as a whole, and you have a pretty good pulse of what's going on, I think, around not only the ACC, but the country. When you look at Miami's start to the season, get off to the hot start, did what they did against A&M. I mean, that was a real high down here in South Florida, and people were excited. We've gone on ad nauseum about the Georgia Tech game, right? Which that was just so unfortunate from the Canes fans' perspective because UNC you knew was going to be a tough game. I don't think fans would have been so up in arms right now about the situation, right? If you lose to UNC, but you sneak out of there with a win against Georgia Tech, right? Because you knew going into the year UNC would be a tough game. How would you assess the start to the year for the Canes?
Yeah, I mean, outside of, again, that Georgia Tech game, it's been fantastic. I think the way that they're moving the ball, the way the Miami team has looked, retooling your offensive line to where those are some bad boys up there, running it, throwing it at a very effective clip. A very balanced team that, I think when people hear that, they think immediately, okay, they threw it 30 times, they ran it 30 times. That's not necessarily the case. When you're balanced, when you're truly balanced, if a team tries to take one away, you have the other answer quickly. And Miami has mostly had that, where they can either run it all over you, they can throw it, or do a combination of both if your defense, quite frankly, just isn't that good. So, they've been able to do that. Then we come down and the Georgia Tech game happens, and it was just like, what's going on? This is so weird. This is such an anomaly from anything, that we had seen all year from these guys with not lack of discipline, but lack of execution, some weird penalties, turnovers in the red zone. My God, we hadn't seen anything like that all year long. And then you've got it. The game is over. You won. All you simply have to do is run the clock out, take a knee, and it's over. And Miami lines up to run a play, and I'm just looking at our guys like, why? What is the point of this? Then, of course, the fumble happens, which, by the way, was not a fumble. He was down, but never put the game in the ref's hands. And
Canes fans are going to love you. Canes fans are going to love you for that one.
No, he clearly down, clearly down. I hate that it came to that. But then you still are winning, right? You're still alive. It's not like you had to score and you let him go 74. So that game, I mean, it was brutal from Georgia Tech's perspective, from Miami's perspective. It was a bad game. Like, nobody deserved to win, but somebody had to. And then you get to the North Carolina game. I was fascinated to see the mindset of Miami, just with all the things that happened. And right after the game, kind of the approach from the coaching staff versus later in the week where more accountability was put on the coach and the coaching staff. I liked that. But I just wanted to see the mindset. And they came out and fought. But they did kind of the cardinal sin and let Carolina go on this massive run, which they're like a basketball team, man. They can score in bunches quickly. And it's hard to keep up with that when you have a team, that has the explosive nature that they do. So now you're in this really weird spot where the Tigers are coming to town. I would say a hurt team, not the best Clemson team that we've seen in the last 7-8 years. And you've got a Miami team that's hurt as well with these last two games. This game Saturday is an elimination game from Charlotte. Like, it's probably already a stretch. Mathematically, there's still a path. But if you lose this game, it is over. It's done. Like, now we're playing for what? The Pinstripe Bowl? Like, what are we doing? Each team, I'm not just saying Miami or just Clemson, that this loser is in a bad spot. And even from a recruiting standpoint, I mean, these guys go head to head with a lot of different recruits. This is for bragging rights. This is to walk into those visits and say, did you see what we did? Did you see what we did against those guys? And so really from that perspective, this game is vital for both teams.
I mean, look, Eric, I know you're a Dabo guy, but being around Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal as an offensive lineman, I mean, those guys must be speaking your language.
No, man, it's always one of my favorite visits. When we do the summer kickoff or summer tour, and we're going to all the schools, and I very much cherish my time with Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal. And yeah, I don't think there's any question, man. Any recruit, especially that's in those trenches, when you hear those men speak, when you hear how passionate they are about ball, how much they love where they are, this university, it would be hard not to want to be a part of that and to play with them.
Couple more questions here. You were a part of that 58-0 game.
I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up.
Well, listen, it was a bad moment for Canes fans, but
it worked out.
Some fans I also think of it as a good time because Al Golden was let go the next day. Obviously, we don't like to rejoice on people's firings, but sure. Canes fans were very, very excited at the time, right? So
yeah,
it wasn't looked at completely as a terrible day. I mean, something like that needed to happen to move on from Golden at the time. But I just want to ask you, any memories from that day in particular?
Sure. Whatever you want to get into. Funny story. That was the God, what did they call it? Like the good sportsmanship game or whatever. Do you remember they used to do that? And so we would line up. We lined up across the field and then would walk across and shake each other's hand. Dude, 99% of y'all did not shake our hands. And we got so mad. And it was just like, okay, what do you want to do here? What do you want? And it was just, I mean,
I want to say there was a pregame scuffle.
Pregame brawl. I remember Shaq Lawson, Mackenzie Alexander, J-Ron Curse, all them guys went straight over to Miami.
I will say, though, Miami fans, I remember when that happening, whenever something like that happens right at this time when Miami fans are like, look, we're not good enough to be doing that stuff. So I don't think that was completely approved by Canes fans. But
I'm sure it wasn't. Don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. We're number one in the country, and we're just like, what are y'all doing? This is wild. This is wild. It was a fun game, though, from my vantage point.
Yeah, I remember it being a very hot day as well.
Oh, smoking, dude. It was so hot. Yeah. It was so hot.
It was tough. Hopefully, again, better weather this weekend for you
That's right.
when you're in town. Any Coach Richt stories because
Oh man.
obviously his time in Miami that, this time around was short, but did a lot of great things here, put his own money into the program, which was pretty unheard of. I mean, what's it like working with that guy?
Yeah, it's such a blessing. I mean, I love that man with all my heart, and truly, have been so blessed and honored to be able to work with him for the last 5 football seasons and to learn all the lessons, man. I know you guys know this as Canes fans and family, but he truly is one of the best. The way that he loves his wife, the way he treats his wife, the way that he treats his kids, loves his kids. I mean, he has been such a great example to EJ and myself, and before with Jordan Cornette and Eddie Royal, and just all of that. The way you handle situations and the patience that he has. He's as godly as a man as they come. And it's been such, again, an honor to be able to be along his side through the ups and downs, right? I mean, I remember our first year and him having, I believe it was a heart attack. And, we were all just like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? And, to see him go through that. And then now with Parkinson's and the fight and, the determination. I mean, this is a man that literally is going through a life-altering event and still each and every day, fights his tail off and puts in so much. And so, it's almost a little bit humorous to me at times because there's times where I'm sitting there like, man, this stinks. Like, this is a long day, da, 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 da. And then I'm like, Coach Rick's over there smiling and giving his best. And I'm sitting here complaining dealing with what I'm dealing with. And truly, man, he's one of the best people on earth. And like I said, I love him very much.
He doesn't seem like a betting man, but any side bets with him this week? I saw you and EJ had a little side bet going for the Florida
that was
State
brutal.
game.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
No, we don't. I need to talk to him though. Yeah, because a couple of alma maters here. We need to figure something out, and it's a pretty even game. I think the line's at like 3. So this is this isn't the unranked team versus number 4 in the country. This could go either way here. So I need to figure that out. That's a great thing.
Definitely. Well, Eric, it's been awesome talking to you, and I know the Canes fans. Listen, if they weren't fans of you already, you definitely hit some sweet spots for the Canes fans. So I appreciate you joining me today. It was awesome talking to you and great insight on your Clemson Tigers. We don't have to hide it.
That's right. I appreciate you, man. Can't wait to see the game. Can't wait to be down there and get some good food. It's always, again, I can just close my eyes and point, and there's great places everywhere. So I can't wait, man. We'll be there tomorrow morning. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man.